Right, guys, so the whole next chapter is called conic sections. It happens to be one of my personal favorites, and I really don't know why. It's very algebraic. It's not trig. So some of you will enjoy the break from trig. Some of you will enjoy the break in that this is not building on something that we've been doing. So if you need to take this time to go back and do some retakes while you're moving ahead on something totally different, does that make sense? At least it's not building on something. If you were struggling, now's your chance to go back and fix those things in trig because we're not building on them right now. We will go back to some trig though, so be forewarned. All right, does anybody know what this formula is? Not the quadratic formula. Yes, this is the distance formula, okay? And the definition of a circle in what's called the locus of points in geometry is all points equidistant from a given point in a plane. Does that make any sense? All the points the same distance away from this point. If I say 5 inches away from that point and I start going out 5 inches in every direction, I'm going to get a circle, yes? Okay, so guess what the equation of a circle is? Does that look like the distance formula? If we go back here and we say this distance is called what? What is this distance called right here? It's called the radius, okay? So if we put an R here and then we square this side so that we don't have such a complicated mess over here, that's the equation of a circle, okay? But we put in one of those center points and we call that H and K. All right, I think I have a little link here. Here's a whole bunch of different circles. If we turn this one on, this is a circle whose radius would be, anybody know? It's not 16, that's the radius squared, okay? You've got to have that down, guys. This is the radius squared. This one has a radius of 2, but the center is still the same. It's at 0, 0, okay? This one, we should know these shifts, right? This shifted up to, inside the parentheses, opposite of what it seems, it shifted up to, and the radius was 3.
I thought it was different.
If it's on the Y, it shifts up and down.
Oh.
Okay. So this one is going to be where? Can you predict where this one's going to be? Right 4, down 2, and have a radius of 4. Okay. Now, this is to come. Okay, this is section 7.2. When you have a stretch one direction, it's going to be called an ellipse. Okay, an oval. You can sound much smarter now. You can teach your little nieces and nephews to say it's an ellipse. It's not an oval anymore. Okay. All right, so it is an ellipse. All right. We're going to do ellipses in a couple days, but today we're concentrating on circles, and you have done this all before. So standard form of a circle, we generally say x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, where the center is at what point? But in this, what letters are helping us find the center here? Yes, H and K. And R stands for the radius. And just to clarify, the radius is halfway across, not all the way across. We good? Anybody know the equation for area of a circle? Because you got some homework questions that ask about that. A equals, what kind of units are area? Squared. Area is in square units. Anybody remember the formula now? You guys are scaring me. Zoe? You know this one? That's actually circumference. This one has a, whoops, I don't want to write A then. The circumference is 2 pi r, okay? But area is square units. Anybody remember their own with square?
IR squared.
Okay. Those are really important. I should look it up because I don't remember if they're on the formula sheet for the SAT or if you're supposed to have them memorized. I'll try to look that up and tell you tomorrow, okay? So quickly, can we go through some of this review? Where's the center of this? Remember the formula is x minus h, so h is just 2. Y minus k, so k would be -3. And this is r squared, so the radius is 2. So if we go over 2 and down 3, this is the center. And the radius of 2 means I'm going to go exactly 2, up, down, left, and right, and then do my best to make a circle out of that. Yep, that's not a very good circle. Any questions? All right, so one more of those real quick. Center, -1, 0, and the radius is 6. -1, 0 is the center over here. 6 units up, 6 units right and left, 6 units down. Yeah, I was gonna say most people's end up kind of like diamonds. Mine has got a bump at the top. Pretty good? All right, so these are pretty easy as well. We're going backwards. So we need standard form is the form we've been talking about. This x minus h, y minus k was r squared. So if we put in a center and a radius of 9, what would that equation look like? Okay, be real careful. The radius is 9, so 9 squared is 81. All right, there are a couple different ways to do this next question. Some teachers I know teach write the equation and then put this point in to find the radius. I think we're smart enough to figure out how far apart these are. What do you think? If this is a point on the circle and this is the center. Almost. Don't they line up this way? They have the same coordinate here. So if you went left 15 and up 3, you went left 15 and down 1. How far apart were they here? 4. Everybody good? So we're going to have x minus -15 or plus 15 squared, y minus 3 quantity squared, and then from here to here made the radius 4, so this is 16. If you had to, you could do the distance formula between those 2 points. Okay, I don't know if we have another one of those or not. All right, this one wants general conic form, and you're not going to have to do this on a test or quiz. It's kind of miserable, but I want to show you this forward so that we can practice it backwards. So we're going to start with the form we're used to. What would this look like? Okay, now I want you to do some foiling. What is x minus 7 times x minus 7? Okay, we got a minus 7x and a minus 7x, so that becomes minus 14x plus 49. Okay, back here, y minus 1 times y minus 1. minus 1y minus another 1y would be minus 2y. Negative 1 times negative 1 is, okay? And at the back, we had equals 16. All right, I want you to kind of remember what this looked like, because that's going to be our goal in a minute. But to finish this question, general conic form, I believe they would write x squared plus y squared minus 14x minus 2y. If we moved all this over to the same side, what would we get? 49 plus 1 is 50 minus 16. 50 minus 16 is 34. So we would get this, okay? I know general conic form has it equal to 0. I'm just not positive about the order they want these things in here. All right. I'm never going to ask you to do that again, but I am going to give you this form and ask you to go the other direction. Okay? So given general conic form, I want to find standard form. I don't know if you remember completing the square, if you're good at completing the square, but completing the square is going to be all over this unit. All right? So just real quick, the steps, okay? You're going to move the constant to the other side, the 222. Then you're going to gather all the x's, and you're going to gather all the y's together, and you're going to add blanks to each of those. And then you complete the square, just to remind you how this goes, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it x squared plus 30x plus blank. Those are all the x's. Then I have a y squared minus 2y plus blank equals, I'm moving this to the other side so it becomes a negative 222 plus a couple blanks. How are we doing? Not lost yet? Okay, now who remembers how you complete the square? We need this to become some quantity squared. Good job. Divide b by 2, so that becomes, okay, so we have x plus 15. Then what we're really doing in our head is x plus 15 times x plus 15, whoops, because we'd get x squared plus 30x, which we had here, plus 15 times 15 is, okay, so remember it was half of b to go into the parenthesis, and then what goes back in the blank was that half of b squared. All right, so we got to do it all over again for the y's right here. Y, what's half of b? Minus 1, yep. Be careful. And then when you square that, y minus 1 times y minus 1 is y squared minus 2y plus 1. What did I forget to do? Anything I put in a blank on the left, I got to put in a blank on the right. If you add all that up, okay. So does it make any sense why I made us do this once, just to kind of remind you where this all comes from? Okay. So identify the center and radius as well. This is the form we wanted, but then we also want the center and the radius. Can anybody tell me where the center and the radius are? Good job. Okay. Be careful, guys, because that number on the right side won't always turn out nice. You know, the center could be square root of 7 or something disgusting too. Yep, that's fine. If you were to have to graph it, then just estimate, but otherwise leave it exact. All right, can you try this one on your own? I feel like I should put on the Jeopardy music. What'd you get on the right? Yeah, that's what I was getting to, and I thought maybe I was doing something wrong. So the center and the radius, anybody not getting that? Anybody make a mistake somewhere, lose a sign, have a question? Please ask. Okay. There is one more, and this kind of leads into what we're going to have to do a lot of later. We're still going to isolate these x's, 4x squared minus 96x plus blank. And then we have a plus 4y squared minus 12y plus blank equals negative 441. But what we're going to have to do before we can do this is take a 4 out here, which will make this 4 times x squared minus 96 divided by 4, 24. Thank you. All right, and then back here, we're going to take the 4 out here as well of these. Y squared minus 3, oh my goodness, y plus blank equals, and then over here we still have negative 441 plus blank plus blank. When you do an ellipse, the 4 that you took out here will not be a 4 that you took out here, because this one is stretched 4 each way or something, okay? It's going to turn out different at the end, but the bottom line is it's round, the circle. But when we go to do ellipses, one of them you might pull out a 4 and the other one you might pull out a 2 because it's only stretched so much one way and so much the other. That's what makes it an oval. All right, when we go to do here, here's the trick. This is what everybody messes up. We're good with this part. We go x, half of that is minus 12, squared is 144. And there's still a 4 out front. But when we go over here, we're not putting a 144 anymore. Anybody know why? Yes, there's a 4 times 144 here. I'm just actually going to write 4 times 144, and we'll worry about what that side comes out later, but in your notes it might actually help you to have written how you got that number. Okay, then this one will be plus 4 parenthesis, what happens here? This one's not nice. Yeah, I'm going to write 3 over 2, is that okay? And then when you square 3 over 2, you would have 9 over 4. You can write a decimal, I don't care, but 4 times 9 over 4, yep, will just be 9, but I'm going to write it that way in the blank over there. All right, equals, so we have negative 141 plus this, this was 9. I don't know what that is to get my calculator out. Anyone else getting that? All right, to make this a circle, we're going to divide this whole quantity by 4, and this whole quantity by 4, and this whole quantity by 4, so that it turns out to be a circle. So we'll have x minus 12 squared plus y minus 3 halves squared equals 36, 30 what? 3 is 12, 36. Okay. Now, we could have started this problem at the very beginning by dividing everything by 4, but I don't think this one would have come out nice. But in the end, it would have come out the exact same way. But that's a good, the only reason I want to do one like that is because when we get to ellipses, we're going to have seen it once now. So the center is 12 comma 3 halves, or 1.5. And the radius, anybody? 6. All right, we good? All right, then a couple just conceptual questions to help us. Oh, kidding. This one is really important. Can you write yourself a note that this is definitely on the quiz? Because this is the kind of question that they like to ask on an SAT or an ACT, because it incorporates a whole bunch of ideas. If you know that one end of this is at 0, -2, and there's another endpoint of a diameter way out here at -12, +4, and this is the circle that goes through those, what kinds of concepts are we going to have to use to come up with its equation? We could use the distance. That would give us the diameter. I wouldn't do that. Because no, we don't need that. We need to write the equation. We need to know what? The midpoint. Isn't the midpoint the center, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Who remembers how to find midpoint? Keaton? Yep. You just average the x's, average the y's. Remember that, guys? So we have 0 and -12 for the x's, and the y's are -2 and 4. What does that give us for the midpoint? Be careful, don't use your calculator unless you put parentheses or hit enter at the top before you divide by 2, right? Everybody good? All right, now that we have the center at -6, 1, and one of the points was at 0, -2, I usually don't use the distance from here to here to find the diameter, because what do we really need to put into the equation? We don't need the diameter, we need the radius. And if you find the diameter, then you got to divide it by 2. And if the diameter is an ugly number, like square root of 7, now you have square root of 7 over 2. It's just kind of ugly. So what I always do is I just use my center and one of the points. This is going to be R. So I need the distance, which is the radius. And it goes from, now it's the circle equation, guys. So the x's are -6 and 0 squared plus, I totally didn't leave myself enough room. What are the y's, guys? We're using the center, right? 1 and -2. Okay, so we're doing the distance from, maybe I should write the ordered pairs down here, -6, 1 to 0, -2, just so you remember where you got those numbers. And this was the center, and this was a point on the circle. All right, so we get r equals, this is 36 and 9, right? 1 minus -3 would be plus, or 1 minus -2 would be plus 2, would be 3, squared is 9, and 36 is 45. Did anybody get square root of 45? Okay. Now, don't get a decimal, because when you put it into the circle formula, what do you put it in as? R squared, right? And R squared will just be 45. Okay, who can write the equation of the circle now?
Okay.
Yep, because it's R squared. Everybody okay? Now, it's a lot of steps, but is it pretty basic math that you should know and be good at by now? Okay, finding the midpoint and the distance and plugging the numbers in. So I only assigned one of those on the homework, but there's like 3 of them on the worksheet, so you might want to go back and practice one before the quiz again, but endpoints of a diameter. I think I took this question off the quiz. It used to be on the quiz. Does anybody remember formula for area? Okay, so if this is pi r squared, if I divide a pi off each side, I have r squared is 100. So what's the radius? And actually, we could have just left it 100 because we're going to put the 100 in anyway, right? Do you not have this one? Do you have one at all that talks about area? Number 7? Is it this question or a different one? Okay. Number 7 you have, and it says the area is 36 pi, and the center is? Yes. Is this off the homework? Okay, but you don't have one that says number 12 on the review? Okay. Well, then maybe you should just write down this number 12. Do you have room on worksheet 1 anywhere? I like whited some out. I probably whited one out I shouldn't have, I think. Okay, I'll give you a chance to get caught up. Okay, so this is not on the notes, but it is a homework problem is assigned like this. So I can go back over what we did so that you're not lost. So you could have started writing the equation right away. What did you know as soon as you looked at this question? The center meant that the equation started out x minus 5 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals. And then over here, you need to figure out what r squared is. Well, they all but gave it to you because the area formula is actually pi r squared. So if you divide the pi off, that means r squared is 100. So r is 10, but this needs to be 100 anyway. Everybody okay? The other option is they can give you the circumference. You don't have this one either, I'm betting. Okay, so it's up to you if you want to write this down. So start this equation for me. Okay, and then we need to figure out r squared. This is actually much trickier. Yes, because this is 2 times pi times r. So if I divide the pi off each side, 6 equals 2r. So r is 3. R squared is 9. But you had to do a little math, right? It wasn't like the other one where r squared was just part of the formula. So it's not tricky. Just solving for r first. All right. You don't have this one either, I bet. There's one of these, I think. I don't know. Can you check on the homework assignment? Did I circle the ones that are due or not? Is there one that says translated? Okay. Okay. Translated, guys, all you got to do is find the center and shift it over. So what's the center of this one? And if you shifted that one to the right, you really got to think here, guys. Think about plotting this 16,4. If I moved it to the right one, would be 17,4, right? So what's the new equation going to be? Okay, so you could figure that one out if you just thought about it for a minute. Just find the center, shift it, and plug it back in. And then you said there's a point on a circle one?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll skip that one. All right, let's make one up that says point on a circle. Does it give you the center? Okay, I'm going to make one up.
Okay.
Here's the center, okay? And then what does it say point on the circle?
Yes. 9.
Okay, mine's going to come out ugly. I can just about guarantee it. Okay. If you know where the center is, you're halfway to right in the equation already, right?
Yeah.
If you know it goes through some point over here at 3, 1, so this is the center, so the circle looks like this. Write the equation as you know it so far. Yeah, I feel like this was on the front, but okay, and then over here we need r squared, right?
No, we gotta do radius.
Yes, this distance is the radius, okay?
So
And really, radius squared is the formula of the circle. So it's -2, use this x, minus this x, and this y minus this y, because that's what the distance formula is. Normally it would look like this, and it would say distance equals. But if you square both sides, you just get this. All right, this would be 25 plus 16, I think. Is that 41? And that's r squared, so it's ugly. I told you I was making one up. All right, you think you got this tonight?
Yeah.
All right, get started. You got 6 minutes or 7 minutes.
Oh.